Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday. Hooray. It's History After Dark. I hope you're all very excited. We've been having a few people saying that they're really, really looking forward to this one. And as are we. So I am just waiting, as always, for the ladies to join me up here on Instagram. We are all live on YouTube already. So I know some people follow us on YouTube. So we are already there. Hello on YouTube. Hi. All right. Oh, I can see the requests coming in. Here comes Kat, hopefully. And is this Philippa? No. Where are you? Come see me. Why are you not on the screen? Both of you. Why are you not there? So lots of people coming.
Hello.
Oh, there's one. Hello.
Hello. Good day.
You're not there. Good day. Good morrow.
Day.
Good morrow. Good people.
Even. Good noon.
Depending.
Good
yes,
after.
where you are.
Good 11s.
Good 11s. Oh dear, right. Philippa is coming. She's going to be here any second, and then we
There
can
she is.
There she is.
There she is.
It wouldn't show me. It wouldn't show me you were live for ages. I had to go out and come back in again.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
Oh no! How annoying!
That's my sound of refreshing.
It's me and technology. You know, it's like I affect technology in bad and strange ways with my weird.
We need to cleanse you.
It's your witch teeth, Catherine.
If anybody knows how to cleanse people who have weird energy that does stuff to technology, please just let me know, because it's getting ridiculous now.
Keep saying that before we get into it, I have a weird thing. I can't wear wristwatches that've got batteries. I can wear a solar-powered wristwatch, I can wear a kinetic wristwatch, and I can wear one that charges. But if I have one with a battery, I short it out in days. Ooh. One time my mum had 3 new batteries put in watches for my GCSEs. I went through 3 watches in a fortnight. 3 brand new watch batteries. I shorted them out, killed the watch.
Someone on Insta, is this the British Charlie's Angels? Yes, we're that hot. So if you have a solar, thank you, David. If we have a solar powered watch, do you have to sort of sit like that all the time?
No, any light does it, love. Any light. It's a bit of light
on your head.
Yeah, just like, oh, hang on, I've got to
go out the window.
What time is it? I don't even know why I bother to wear a watch, because I can't tell the time. So,
I only started wearing one again because I got my Apple Watch, and then I just used my Apple Watch to find where I've lost my mobile phone. So
I like one. I have one.
Yes.
I mean, I bought the watch that's for the Queen's Jubilee. It's got no numbers, so I am absolutely screwed. I can't tell time on that.
What?
Cannot do it.
What is the point of this?
Because I'm dyslexic, I can only tell time with a numerical and an analog clock.
Oh, I see, an analog. Okay.
I can't do it on a wristwatch. Anyway, shall I just do it? Shall I do the thing?
Go.
Do
it.
Good evening. It's Wednesday. Here it's evening. I've seen in the chat that people have got somewhat confused, because in the States you do your daylight savings time different. So you're all here an hour too early. Apologies about that. We probably should have mentioned that we don't do daylight saving time yet. We'll tell you when we do, because then it'll cause another kerfuffle. It's just gone 8:15 in the evening here. It is dark because it is winter. That's what we called it. It also fits, though, because we do like to share some historical facts. We like there to be a kernel of truth, nuggets of information, but while doing so, we'll have some fun. We'll be in the gutter, but looking at the stars of history. We will do some smut, some innuendo, and occasionally some 4-letter expletives. So with that being said, if you happen to be in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, put a headphone in. If you happen to be in a kitchen or a car or wherever else a small child hangs out, we call that child Timmy. Timmy's a problem. If you happen to be with Timmy is a dobber, you see. Timmy is a sort of child that overhears, granted, something that is unspeakably depraved, and rather than ask you about it at the time, he stores it up in his little bank of corruption, and then he takes it to school with him and then tells it to his teacher, who probably herself doesn't know, and then makes the mistake, because she doesn't listen to Had, of Googling it. Because the first rule of Had is don't Google stuff you don't understand. Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll be on a list. Don't do it. So she's Googled it, and then she has called you up to school because Timmy has caused a problem, and she is corrupted now. So if you don't want that to happen, put a headphone in. As we say, don't Google it. Also, at no point tonight is any of this a drinking game. We do not approve that message. Thusly, welcome to the Deceased Gits. And tonight, friends, we are talking about Isabella of France. Commence.
We are.
Comments.
We are.
Yes. So I believe that Philippa, you are taking the first slot this evening, talking about her early life, the beginnings of time in the life of Isabella of France.
I am. I'm also enjoying the comments on YouTube, blaming, of course, Kaiser Wilhelm for the change in daylight saving in the hours that we're still enduring 100 years
I know.
after
I think
World War
we
One.
should be like over this now, shouldn't we?
We should drop it now.
No one is. I mean, very few people in this country are farming.
No, and the cows were not that bothered.
Also, if more people were farming, we'd have bloody tomatoes. That's what we'd have. We've got no fucking tomatoes. None of them.
It's like we can't get cucumbers. I hate cucumbers. This is a bonus for me.
Wait, we've got cucumbers. We've not got tomatoes though.
I thought we were having cucumbers.
Anyway,
I don't even care. It's
like up to 100 years ago, was everyone having a real problem every winter? Like, I wish there was something we could do about this.
Also, if 100 years ago, if like the regular person were having a problem, that would not change it. The reason why this stuff changed is rich people. Rich people. It has to serve rich people.
But it's because people have ideas, and then they pretend they're clever, and everyone else wants to seem clever, and then they go, I know what we'll do. We'll adopt this new idea. We're moving forward. It's always progress. It's always progress. We're progressing. Always progress. You can only ever keep changing. That's the only way you get progress, is to just keep faffing and farting around with stuff, and then we'll change the clock. Just ridiculous. Let's go. Let's not. Anyway, that's right.
That was our that you can set up yourself and no one ever takes any notice of. We could do one of them. Maybe that could be our like everyone has a cause. That's our cause to fight for.
Yeah.
The end of daylight savings.
I feel like getting behind a cause. Something is really stupidly futile as changing the hour.
It's not stupidly futile. It's very important.
It's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass if you've got kids. It's a pain in the ass if you haven't got kids. Especially if you've got any that are particularly sensitive. Anyway, to the hour. Right. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Isabella, so let's do it.
Paige says somebody worked on a beef farm. The cows hate daylight savings. So the cows
there you go then. So people were using cows as the excuse. The poor cows. They weren't even wanting it.
Coos.
Coos, moose. That's is that a townies version of what a cow?
Say what the actual fuck was that?
I'm gonna I might just flag up right now, friends. I am hanging. My husband. I'm not hungover. I'm just exhausted. My husband is away for work. My son decided last night that sleep was for the week. I've done a full day of teaching today. I am in a weird place. So we'll see what we end up with. That's another thing I should have mentioned. If you miss it, you can watch it on the playback, unless, of course, we say something that's insanely reprehensible, which has happened once before. It was borderline illegal, and in which case we will yeet it into the sun. And considering the state I'm in and the fact that I missed that part of the disclaimer, we're due. Yeah. So tonight might be the night. Tonight's the night where I say something horrific. Yeah. Buckle up.
We had the after party last week, and just so that you know, if we ever have another one, that came up in the conversation. We actually had a discussion about the yeeted had. So if you didn't come, you've missed out.
Had of the yeetage. The yeetage.
Yeah.
Right, let's hear about Isabella's
childhood. As we were. Philippa, hit us up.
Story.
Okay, so Isabella of France. So this is, I need to give her a little bit of context. I know Catherine and Kat will go into this more, but she was the wife of Edward II. So let's just put her into our line of monarchs. She was born, they think, around 1295. Her actual birthday isn't recorded, but her brother was born a little bit before, and she was recorded as being 12 years old when she came to England to marry Edward II. So we think we can date her birth date to about 1295. Probably born in France. Probably born in France. She's definitely born in France. Probably born in Paris, and certainly raised in and around Paris. So it's going well so far.
DOA.
She was one of 7. She was the 6th child of Philip IV and his wife Joan of Navarre. Philip the Fair.
Oh.
Her
Got
father
over fair to his wife. Kept knocking her up, didn't he?
Wow. Yeah. So apparently he was beautiful. She was plain. So, but Isabella apparently took after her father in the looks department. But yeah, so she's raised in Paris. Apparently gets really good education. She learns pretty much every language except for English. But actually, in England at the time, that's not much of a problem because the nobility and the royalty are speaking French anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a problem. Don't think she ever learns English, apparently. But then I don't think anyone was really speaking English at that. It's either Latin or
poor people.
French. Well, poor
people were.
Poor people. Well, she didn't have to deal with them, so
No.
that's fine. She was incredibly rich. Her sort of pot of stuff that she came with when she came over to England was full of yards and yards of amazing, cloth, and she'd got jewels and coronets and all sorts of stuff. So she was not wanting for much. But saying that, so she left France when she was 12 years old. So her the intention of her marriage was to try and bring a political alliance between England and France. I mean, tried over and over again. It's like, yeah. His father, actually, so Edward II's father, Edward I, actually married Philip the Fair's sister, Margaret. And after that marriage, there was a peace treaty in 1299. And after that marriage, actually, Edward the first lost sort of the will for the marriage. He started thinking, oh, well, maybe I could marry my son off to a Castilian bride instead. So it wasn't actually until Edward I died that it was all finalized and Isabella was sent over to marry the newly ascended king, Edward II. And they were married. Where did I put the date? Somewhere else. They were married in, excuse me a second. In January 1308. So Edward I died in July 1307. Edward II marries Isabella in January 1308. And there's an immediate problem with the marriage, not just that she's 12, which isn't unusual. She actually has her first child when she's 16. So there's nothing to say that the marriage was consummated in the marriage bed in any way before she was sort of considered a woman, presumably when her period started. But she doesn't have her first child till she's 16 and she's married at 12. The problem with the marriage is that Edward II has a, in quotes, favourite, or in air quotes, favourite, probably lover, Piers Gaveston. And he takes all of Edward's time, his affection, his attention. So this is really difficult. Can you imagine? She's 12 years old. She's in somewhere completely new. She lands, she's married, she's crowned. And at the coronation ceremony, Piers Gaveston takes really, I was going to say centre stage, not quite centre stage, but he's very, very close to it. He's wearing purple. He gets to carry the crown in front of Edward. He gets to carry the, what's it called? The tipless sword that I can't remember the name of as I'm thinking about it. Either way, he basically gets a really central role in the coronation. His arms, Gaveston's coats of arms, are embroidered into a tapestry alongside Edward's. whether Isabella's were there or whether it, at all, or whether it's just the fact that chroniclers commented on the fact that Gaveston's were there, kind of just not commenting on Isabella's. I don't know if it's sure, but his arms are right next to Edward's. So she's thrown into this country at 12 years old. She's been bred to and brought up to be a queen. You know, she's aware of her role. And she gets to England. As far as she's concerned, she's doing everything she's supposed to be doing. She's getting married. She's being crowned. This is not what she's been trained for. There is somebody in the way of her and her husband kind of forming the bond, I suppose, that they're supposed to be able to get that relationship. So I don't want to go too much further because I'm probably going into Catherine's realm now. But
I was going to say something rude then. The thing that got me with the coronation was that Gaveston also sat with him at the banquet, and apparently Isabella's French uncles were there, sort of representing her side of the family, and they were infuriated by first the obvious thing that Gaveston was kind of taking this centre stage role almost, but also Edward II gave some of the wedding presents that they brought to Gaveston. And I was like, well,
the level of awareness that Edward II seems to display. I mean, it's just not there. Yeah, completely.
Yes, it's non-existent. Okay, now, yes, I'm sort of starting to cross over with the research here. But before we move on, Kat, do we have a word of the week?
Yes, I'm back in my book of cant. Cant.
You can't do that.
Cant.
God.
Now, I'm going to start as I did last time. Anybody in the comments want to have a little guess of the phrase I've picked today, which is, for those who weren't here last time I did this, it was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Cant was supposed to be a dictionary, this book of the language of the rogues of Georgian London, which is also fitting because the lovely Philippa is hosting the spectacular Georgian Festival this month, weekend after this one. So next weekend, not this one coming, the one after. Get your tickets. They are selling like hot cakes, and it's an online event. My good self is there. I'm talking about fistic battles. Say it that way on purpose, friends. Fistic battles, which is not dirty. And if your mind's in the gutter, then your mind's in the gutter. And there are so many incredible speakers, and there's going to be a Q&A, and it's going to be a good fun time. And it's all online. And if you can't make a talk, it's going to be available. So, Georgian cant. Thank
you.
The phrase that I want you to guess is a well-rigged frigate.
Oh.
A well-rigged frigate.
I mean, that sounds like a well-equipped boat or something.
That is the literal definition of what that would mean. But what does it mean in cant?
A euphemism.
It is a euphemistic.
Well, a well-rigged
entendre. Oh yes. For those who are puzzling, and also, but if you're interested in the Georgians, it is www.thegeorgians2023, all one word, .eventbrite.co.uk. Danny Pickles, you're close, but no.
So is it like saying she's got a good rack?
I like it.
Daddy
Close,
Pig loves to dig,
no.
says well-built man. Was that what you said, Kat? I didn't.
It's not a well-built man, and it's not a busty substances lady. It's not a well-endowed man either. It's less phallic. It is a lady. It's a lady thing.
Mouse
a skilled lady of the night. If only. It's. Shall I tell you? It's much less exciting.
An unskilled lady of the night.
She's a
trainee.
That would be.
She's a trainee.
A well-rigged frigate is just a well-dressed woman.
Oh,
so everywhere. It sounds way filthier than it was. That's why I picked it. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be cheap laughs, and it was. So I'm enjoying it.
Debbie's put hung like a horse.
Nay.
Yeah. Well hung, dude. Hung like a horse. See, we all went to the same place, didn't we?
Yeah, that's why I picked it. I'm not going to lie. That is why I picked it.
That is precisely
I knew it was going to
why.
end.
Oh, Crazy Artist said, he says she got it. Okay.
Well, Crazy Artist Lady's got the book. So, did you get to the page first?
Didn't spot that. Okay, then. Right. So I'm going to come back a little bit now to talk about Isabella. So yeah, she's in this position where, as Philippa says, she's come over. She's known all her life really that she should have a certain role. So wherever she'd ended up to be queen, she should have had a certain role with a certain level of respect and understanding of her position. And right from the outset, she is usurped by this dude that's just flouncing about the place, being self-important. And he's all Edward cares about. He is all Edward cares about. And it's demoralizing and it's embarrassing and it's uncomfortable. And everyone can see what's going on. And a chronicler of the time wrote, "I do not remember to have heard that one man so loved another." So I think, as Philippa mentioned, there's a fairly good chance that they had a more intimate relationship. I'm going to try and sort of put that down. So the problem that you've got is that it's one thing for Isabella to hate him, but all the nobles gathered around court hate him as well. And the problem that you have with that is that you need these people to help secure your kingdom and your borders. So if you alienate them, they're going to have issues with doing that for you. So his father, Edward I, had defended the country against the hammer of the Scots, and he'd beaten the Scots down, and he'd created all this security in England. But because Edward II had basically really pissed off the nobles, they didn't want to stand for him. They didn't want to support him. So when it came to defending again against the Scots, he didn't have that protection. So he was starting to undo the good work that his father had done. And eventually a group of nobles were like, we are straight up done with this now. And they came armed to Parliament and demanding that Gaveston should be banished. That's it. You need to get rid. And they sort of forced Edward's hand on this. And there were 21 of them said that we are going to rule in your stead if we're not doing this. So off he trotted. Anyway, this lasted about, so obviously this is good for Isabella. As Philippa said, it's spring, it's 1312, she's 16 and she's pregnant. But after a couple of months, he can't stand it anymore, and Edward brings Gaveston back. Of course, everyone's incandescent at this point, as I'm sure you can realise. So Isabella, pregnant at this stage, this should have been a real sort of prime time for her. She's pregnant with what is hopefully going to be the heir to the throne. People should be surrounding her. They should be looking after her. But of course, this isn't happening because we've still got that idiot prancing around at the front and getting everything all his own way. Following sort of, you got to the point where they're moving around England because everybody is gunning for Piers Gaveston so much, and they're gunning for Edward, that they just kind of like stay on the move, really, trying to avoid all the people that are after them, which is a great plan, obviously. So she's pregnant, she's being dragged around the place everywhere, all in the name of keeping Gaveston safe. So the lords keep chasing them and they keep running away, and the lords, like, sort of staging this, are headed by the Earl of Lancaster. And he was determined to get Gaveston. The royal party gets separated and Gaveston ends up on his own in Scarborough, and everybody else is down in York. Now he is starved out of the fortress where he's gone to and becomes a prisoner of the lords, and Lancaster goes, no, and just basically takes him and drags him off, and he is beheaded. And Edward is absolutely beside himself at this, obviously. So at Isabella's sort of point at this thing, she must have been thinking, well, now he's gone, so now I can go and I can say, so she's still a young girl, she's pregnant, this is tough by anybody's standards, and she must be absolutely infuriated, humiliated, and straight up done, really. But this must have been the point where she thought, okay, he's gone, we're good, we can move forward. But she gave birth to a son in November 1312. So she's had a son. So now in theory, she's got a little bit more power again. Gaveston's gone. She's just had the heir to the throne. She's growing into sort of a woman. She's not just a little child anymore. So this should really have been her moment, I suppose. Now, there's still the issues with the nobles, and we quite often have the issue in this period where the queens can sort of have some power in the sense that they are able to throw themselves at their husband's feet and try to make the role of peacemaker. So we have these issues with the nobles, and that's what she decides she's going to do. So that's quite a big thing, again, for a woman, a young woman of this age, who's just had a child, to take on this role, but she goes for it. And she was initially quite successful. And the problem that we have when she's building up this relationship with the nobles, again, she's working so hard. In 1314, the king's army suffered a massive defeat at Bannockburn with the Scots. And we talked about Bannockburn when we did our discussion on Robert the Bruce the other week. And they are annihilated by the Scots, basically. And then, ironically, he needs the Earl of Lancaster, who beheaded Gaviscon, to help him come back and protect the borders against the Scots again. So you've got this real divergence. And she's in the middle here, trying to support all the people needed supporting, and not let all these things to start to come to blows again. However, at this juncture, we have a new dickhead in charge. We have Hugh Despenser, who basically makes Piers Gaveston look like a warm-up act. This bloke is horrible. He is a liar, he is violent, he's a manipulator, and he is out just to take whatever he can get, whoever he tramples on the way, which is going to include Isabella. So she's seen this all before, and now it's even worse. Edward's all over him. I think less people are convinced that perhaps that he had a physical relationship with Hugh Despenser, but either way, he was entirely under his thumb. He was entirely swept away by him. And again, Isabella is finding herself in this position of being set right back. All the work that she's tried to do to create peace with the nobles has all gone up the Swanee, because we're back where we started, with an even bigger idiot than we had the first time, which is impressive on its own. So she's had some more children at this point. Her position should be more and more secure, but it's really, really not. And Despenser is building his power and his wealth and his land base and everything like that. And again, we have deja vu. In 1321, the Lords get the hump and they march off down to London, and they threaten both the king and Hugh Despenser. So Isabella at this point was like, right, there's going to be civil war here. I'm going to try and use my position, what there is of it, to try and prevent this civil war. And she tried to support her husband. She had a fourth child, and she begged on her knees in this queenly traditional role for Edward to banish Despenser. And he wasn't having any of it. It managed to cause a temporary truce, but ironically, in the end, it was her that took the country to civil war. And I have to say, although we're talking about, is this woman a git? I'm straight up done with him, and I wasn't even there. So for her to be in this position, I really can't, at this juncture, look at what she's doing and thinking any capacity at all that she is being unreasonable. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm sure we'll come to it. So she went to Canterbury on a pilgrimage, and she went to a shelter at Leeds Castle. Now, the guy who was in charge of Leeds Castle was off in London being a rebel. And so his wife was kind of left in charge. The Queen comes to the door. She's not expecting him. She won't let her in. Isabella loses her entire shit at this, obviously, as you would.
Standard.
And she goes, and she gets some support. And so she comes back with all her guards and her armed men, who are promptly shot to death by the archers. Further incandescence with rage. So Edward's response to this was to tell all these people that was an act of treason, which gave him basically the right to pretty much do everything you want. He sent troops and siege engines over to the castle. The people inside the castle tried to beg for mercy. The women and children were taken, thrown in the prisons, and the men were basically just killed and just left to rot. So it's all going badly, if we're being honest about this, but it set the tone for how the king and Despenser were going to keep running the country. It was just basically brutalized. So all the work that Isabella has been doing to try and join everyone back together, to create support, she's now gone, I can't do this anymore. This is just ridiculous. I can't keep doing this. So we see really sort of tyrannical rule at this point. Now, this is where things start to take a turn for the better. So you think war with France, as we've touched on, here we go again. That can't be good. But for Isabella, that was fantastic, because England held Gascony and her brother, the French king, wanted it back. So this means war. So she goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along and I'm going to say to my husband that I'm going to go and I'm going to try and keep the peace. I'm going to try and help you get a peace treaty going on. And because she's always been such a good girl and put up with this endless barrage of rubbish, the king and dispenser go, yeah, she's a good idea. We'll send her over. She's a bit, whatever. And then we'll get her to sort it out because it's her brother. And then we'll come back and it'll all be pucker. So they go, okay, that's fantastic. So off she trots and has a chat with her brother, and she contacts him. She goes, yeah, this is going splendidly. I think what you need to do, though, to seal the deal is send over our eldest son, the heir, and he can have a little bit of a chat with him, and that will seal the deal. That will sweeten it up beautifully because he'll see, that this is what we're doing. And they were like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. So the son, Edward, comes across. Over he comes. It's all wonderful. And then they say to her, right, well, you that's done. You need to come back now. And she's like, no. All up, no. Me and my son are staying right here. You can knob off. I'm done. We're done. We're straight up done with you and your shit and your idiot. We've had it. And they're like, oh, we weren't expecting that. So on the 9th of March, 1325, she left with Harry. She'd negotiated this deal. And she was really putting forward to present herself as the wronged wife, which of course she was. But some of this thing we get about her being a she-wolf and all this type of stuff, that's more posthumous, to be honest. At the time, people were actually, we get this thing that she was this and that. But at the time, actually, because she was doing this and she was trying to make peace, she was trying to get rid of Gaveston, she sailed across, but she met this chap, Roger Mortimer. Now, he was a politician and a soldier, and in 1321 he had joined the rebels against Edward II. So he was kind of in this mix already, but he was exiled to France, and she met him in France. So she was a little bit sort of swept away by this chap, and it didn't take long for them to be a little bit more than friends.
Knocking boots.
Yeah, well, whatever you want to call it. That's as good as anything else. So as queen, she was committing acts of sin and acts of treason, but she had her son. She had this guy by her side who was strong to back her up, gave her, a lot more support than her husband ever had. But it's not easy and doable, really, as it was often seen to depose an anointed king. So they had to do something. She needed an army. So she arranged marriage for her son, the future Edward III, and Philippa of... Now, do you say Hainault or Hainault? Or does it not matter?
Heard both. I've heard Hainault.
I thought it was Hainault, but I'm not sure. Anyway, her. And she said, okay, we're going to arrange this marriage. It's all good. And the dowry was troops and ships, which was exactly what was required for Isabella and her new chap, Roger Mortimer. So they sailed across with all these ships, and she was actually welcomed like a hero because people were done with Edward and Despenser and their tyranny, but they didn't know what to do, and they didn't feel like they had an alternative. So here was an alternative. We have this 13-year-old boy that can basically become king. Okay, and his mother, who was very popular, Isabella, she can kind of rule in his stead, almost like a regent of sorts, really. So people were loving this. They thought it was a fantastic idea. They greeted her with open arms. And so she was now seen as England's saviour. So you'd think, actually, going across to depose an anointed king would recall a lot of resistance because you just didn't do that. But no, people were perfectly happy with this setup. Now, Edward and Despenser fled. She got hold of him. She hanged, disemboweled and castrated him while he was still alive. So, these things happen. You reap what you sow.
Not personally, did she?
Well, I don't think she did it herself, but she went, you can do that.
I bet she would have. I bet she would have given us a chance. The one she's disemboweling is Despenser, not Edward. That's who.
Yes, just to clarify. He's
the one that gets spayed.
Yes,
and he's well. Isn't there a sort of the depiction is her watching it? Do we know if she actually is there? It's Hereford, isn't it? He's caught. I don't know. Yeah, it's Hereford.
Is it customary for the monarch to watch that sort of thing?
There we go. So Intrepid Frady Cat says she ate an apple while she watched. Now I don't know. Did she? Is this legend?
That's in the film.
Yeah, exactly. Is this something made to sort of make her seem very cruel and cold?
To reinforce the she-wolf thing.
The watching of the disemboweling with the eating of the apple, I've seen that happen with the execution of York during the reign of Henry VI. He's tied to a ladder and disemboweled. Is an apple eaten there while Henry VI?
So I thought that was a Hugh Dispenser, the ladder. I thought that was Hugh Dispenser. No,
I could have conflated these things because I think both of those scenes, maybe they happen twice, are in Dan Jones's Plantagenets.
Excellent book.
The documentary about Plantagenets. I think that scene is there. Don't quote me on it, but I'm not. And the reason why I think it's happening there is because I remember Henry VI sat beside her, kind of cowering, and she's just rigid. It's either in the Plantagenet series, or it's possibly in She-Wolves. The documentary about she-wolves. So I may have conflated the apple eating, but I think I have seen that moment televised.
I'd love to know that now.
Yes.
Anyway, there he was. He needed to go because, as you always get when like someone's been deposed, there's always somebody waiting in the wings. There were plots to try and free him. He escaped his guard at some point, Edward. So they were like, we've got to off him. But obviously it was very discreet. No one really knows what's happened. There was the famous story, of course, of him having a red hot poker shoved up his bottom. But again, we don't really know whether that's true. But he disappeared. We don't know how much Isabella may or may not have been involved in his murder. But then there he was gone, as my dad would have said. Now, at this point, Isabella's got her son. She's in a really good position, but this is where she ballses it up. Because she's still got her son quite young. And I'm going to let Kat come on to legacy in a moment, because this is where she starts to look a bit gittish. She's got her young son. He's 13. She's in this wonderful position. But what she does is basically take over, not quite, but take over from where they left off, because she and Mortimer start this very tyrannical rule. Where you do what we say, you do what we do. And she doesn't give her son any of this power he should have. But of course, he's not going to be little forever. So she's there out basically doing what they want, getting the money, getting the land, getting all the trappings of the royalty themselves. So when he hits 16, 17, they start to realise they could be in trouble here. And they're actually in Nottingham Castle and they double their guard. But he is well prepped. You know, this is his mother. He is well prepped for this. The guard come, they come under the tunnel in the castle and they capture them very, very easily. So she's pensioned off quite well, in fact, about £3,000 per year by her son, who of course is now going to be the legendary Edward III. What a man. Everyone's related to him. Did you know? Let's not get started on that's my 13 times great grandmother conversation. We've had some crackers of them this week.
Amazing ones this week.
Superb.
You're
First
not.
rate. Including the one, Philippa, you had one saying, well, their advice, whatever it is, take grandparents. So I think they were in love, even if they weren't, or worse. I've decided.
I think that's one Kat had and sent us, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, as soon as they're my 13th great grandparents, I like to believe they were in love.
So there we go.
All
Make
right.
of that what you will. We have.
We So are we going to do?
We're going to do a PPP.
A PPP before.
Before we do, I just have to apologise to Crazy Artist Lady. I traduced your good name. It was not. You did guess it. I saw that. Who said it?
Someone
said they had a copy of the book? It wasn't Crazy Artist Lady. It was just above you. It was Intrepid Frady Cat. I apologise for mischaracterising what has gone on there. Very sorry. And also, I saw a comment about asking Lauren Johnson to come and speak to us. I certainly will. She is doing a book. She's finishing up a book. So she's busy lady. But and I also have to check how happy she is with vulgarity in public.
Because
got a
surprisingly,
brand.
That might be where we
everyone is.
fall down.
She's got a brand to protect. Not everyone is prepared to be the gutter snipes that we are.
Fair.
But yes, she is fabulous. And an excellent scholar.
Right. So before Kat comes in and does legacy and finishes Isabella off, not like that. Not like that. It is past problems post bag.
P.
PPP.
We need a jingle for
Personal
this.
protective.
You need to do personal protective.
Have you got a problem that could be solved in history? Is your neighbour evil, or is your cat potentially the devil? If they are, they come to us. We've got some spells and maybe some other stuff. I'm too tired. I'll do better next time.
I still feel that.
I've let
I
myself
loved it.
down.
I loved it.
I've let
But
myself
especially
down.
about
No.
the cat. Yes.
Yeah, the cat.
Oh, people were talking about Philomena Kunk earlier the other day. Right. That's another one. Okay, are we ready for this?
Well, I was born ready.
Born ready, mate.
I'm
Born
quite
ready.
tired, but I was born ready.
I know you've given me a heads up on this, but I can't remember it, so go for it.
All right, dear Had, I need your help.
Hello.
My name is
we'll
Daniel, and I work for the
Hello,
Crown as an
Daniel.
executioner or hangman.
Ah.
I've been single for a long time and finding it very hard to find love. I've been on dates and they go well at first. But as soon as I disclose my line of work, they immediately take a dislike to me and then they don't want to see me again. Love
Fair.
is hard. My work can be mentally challenging, but it pays well and it protects me from the wrath of the Crown. However, I don't want to die alone.
Fair.
And I've been feeling very lonely for a long time. That's sad. So should I just try and lie about my job on dates? And if so, how long should I keep that up? Well, how long should I keep it up on dates? Or should I consider quitting my job so that I can find someone and hopefully be happy? That's quite the dilemma. It's quite the dilemma. Ladies, any immediate thoughts?
I have some thoughts.
Go.
I have two thoughts. I think Daniel. What was his name?
Daniel.
You can go one of two ways. Daniel, Danny boy. Can I call you Danny boy? I'm gonna. And those two ways are thus: either you reframe the profession so you sell it differently. When at dinner, you just lay it all out. Lay all of your nonsense out on the table.
Pig!
Love it. And you lay it down and
I'll
you
read it out in a
say it. What you say is that you are the state executioner, which is a regular source of income, but not regular work. So you are free a lot. Thus, always around. Childcare responsibilities, which is quite unusual in the medieval period, showing that 50-50. You're there. You're the guy to be doing that. Alternatively, you fudge the details as one does in one CV, and you aren't the executioner. You work in human resources. You are a professional headhunter.
Oh no. Okay, so where has it gone?
He's going to wink at a few of the ladies in the crowd. Hang on, he'll wink at a few of the ladies in the crowd during execution and promise to show them his axe. Sarah. Good. Yeah, that's another one.
Maybe that is. I think that's good advice. We've had that a few times. Maybe he should just pick a lady from the crowd, someone who clearly enjoys the spectacle.
That type of thing.
But also it's kind of, there's some menace there. Like, you, love, I select you. He's holding a dirty, great, bloody axe. Literally a bloody axe that's also bloody. Who's saying no to that? Not me. It's fucking scary.
Lottie Rose, I would suggest he dates one of the freaks who likes to attend executions. So exactly what you were just saying. Taking tea with Catherine, not me. But I have spoken to her. He should try Axe body spray. Daddy Pig says he needs to introduce the ladies to his chopper.
Yeah. Well,
once again, people talking about like find a spectator, all these
find a goth chick.
Oh no, Tara, saying they can't fall head over heels for you. Jesus Christ!
I mean, he does have the option of ongoing anonymity because of wearing the hood when he is actually at work.
Do you know
fair.
what? Forget finding a goth girl or someone who, hangs out at coroner's offices. Just find you someone who enjoys a gimp. Because from here up, you are full gimp. All you've got to do is just buy the ball gag, and then you are total gimp, total eclipse of the gimp.
He could do all executions from now on topless
in arseless chaps.
So
uniform.
Really work. So I would say squat, work on your buns, work on your pecs. So press up squats, and then go pretty much as naked as you can.
Does he have a dog in a gimp suit?
Timmy, I shall teach you what gimp means, and don't Google it.
Professional disciplinarian, Debbie says. I mean, there's levels of discipline. That's quite extreme. Well, I suppose there's a fetish for everything.
Definitely, Danny, there's someone out there for you. We're absolutely sure. Get your buns out. Get your pecs out for the girls.
Get your chopper out.
Get your chopper out. There's someone out there for you.
Full gimp mask, ball gag. Lovely.
Pretty pick. It's a Chippendale show. I'm imagining an execution cross with a Chippendale show. I like the idea.
Stranger things have happened.
If anybody's a Timmy in the room and has not heeded our warning about a headphone, you have only yourself to blame. Only yourself to blame.
Every week.
Mouse Wonders Rule 34. If you can think it, there's porn of it. Well, I think
you are not wrong.
I'm not Google Googling that.
Don't not Google it. Do not.
Because
that, my friend,
you'll end up on a
movie.
list.
That's a snuff movie. Don't Google it. This will never be a snuff movie. They can role play it. They can. Do you know what?
Nay.
Whatever floats your boat. Just
We're
don't
not
do it.
Kink shaming. We're
not kink shaming. Not kink shaming. Don't Google snuff movies, and don't go jogging in a Tesla. Those are your rules. Extra rules.
Yeah. That for sure.
That took a turn.
Okay. Well, I hope
that was close. That was close. We were nearly there then, I think. We
were edging ourselves. We were edging close to the point of the precipice of the yeet. Yeah. We almost climaxed over the brow of the yeet, but we pulled ourselves back from the edge of the yeet.
A little bit.
So Daniel, as Philip said, I hope that's useful advice. I think everybody on both platforms, and of course our good selves, will be interested to know how your love life is going. So if you want to drop us a line and let us know if you've managed to pull, then please do. We'd love to hear. Because we love to hear stories of love and happiness here at HAD.
And if you're on the YouTube, you will see scrolling across the bottom the email address to send your PPPs, your past problems, post posits to. If you are on the Insta, it is History After Dark 2021, all one word with numbers at gmail.com.
Yes, Pretty Pip. We've got to push them further, guys. No, don't be selfish. Because if we have to yeet this, there are other people that haven't seen it that won't get to see it. Yes. Intrepid Freddy Cat, premature yeet withdrawal. Right. Anyway, so that's that. Another section we've been talking about having is tea with Catherine. So
forcing her to drink tea.
That another time.
Yes. While we pin her down and funnel tea into her gullet. This is becoming more and more BDSM as the weeks go on. That's just
Kat, let's talk about the legacy of Isabella. Oh yeah, well, what with that and the Winnebago?
We're full on.
I might start hanging out with an executioner just to make you have a bit of think about it.
We're just dominatrixing you. We're just shame doming you. And you love it, don't you?
I'm not. Although I'm not
keep coming back, don't you?
I've ever been shamed with tea drinking before.
Well, there should be. That's because we haven't met anyone who doesn't drink tea before. There hasn't been the requirement to shame.
It's terrible.
Because no one else has ever said it.
Frankly, of all of the depraved shit we've said over the year or so, and we've said a lot of depraved shit, your disgraceful views about tea are an atrocity.
Yeah.
An atrocity. Basically, that you need to just open The Hague again and try me for war crimes. Is that what you're saying?
You're British.
Crimes
and
against
you don't
tea.
drink tea.
We're going to hang you up
What?
by your toes, and I'm going to
Can
come
I
in there.
just say though,
and you're
I
gonna be
couldn't
madam.
tell you the exact date, but on that thing, Clubhouse, in March 2021 was when we started had. So we were on Clubhouse for like several months. So at some date this month, we started had, and we started with Rude Place Names of Great Britain, and that was the one with the Muff Diving Club.
Oh my God.
Muff Diving Club.
That might still be on the pod. No, actually, I don't think that was.
No, because it was on Clubhouse.
It was so early. Yes,
Clubhouse.
I know. Some of them.
A mad journalist has asked if GIMP is one not to Google. Don't look at the images.
I wouldn't bother.
Don't look at the images. You probably got a fair idea, as I referred to as like executioner's marks. And then porn.
Porn. It was Pulp Fiction. If you've watched Pulp Fiction, you'll.
Yeah. There we go.
I mentioned it earlier.
There we go. Timmy, don't ask your teacher what GIMP means.
No.
What on God's green earth is a GIMP? That's on your head.
Nope. Don't Google it. You've got a fair idea. I described it. It's like an executioner's mask, but a full face and a ball gag. What I mean, that's what one looks like. I was a very big fan of a comedy group that may still be going. I used to go and watch them live, and they were called Late Night GIMP Fight, and they are phenomenal. Late Night GIMP Fight, absolutely it was like cult, fringe comedy, and maybe they've gone elsewhere, and maybe they've even renamed. I don't know, but yeah, Late Night GIMP Fight were spectacular.
People talking about iced tea,
and they had gimps on stage as well.
People talking about iced tea. What?
Iced tea?
It's bad enough hot, and it's meant to be hot. Why would you then make it cold and make it even worse? What the hell is going on? Someone said, Raven, and somebody else said, have I tried chai tea? Chai tea is all right. It's nice as a latte. Actually, chai latte is very nice.
I don't think you need
chai
to add
tea
that much milk.
Tastes like potpourri to me.
I don't think that's tea. Well, it's not tea. It's not tea that we're talking about. We're talking about you.
Yeah. So send in your suggestions as to which tea I should try, so I can be rude about it. Anyway,
we need to get onto Isabella's legacy.
Use her instead of me. Fortunately, we've gone past C and B on the list of Gits in the alphabet, so I might be safe. We haven't done. We haven't done Catherine or Marchant. Or we haven't done P either. So
she's getting upset.
Still time.
Love you.
I hope you'll choke on your tea and get 1st-degree burns on it.
All right, chill out. Love you. Legacy of Isabella. We got up to her starting to get a lot tyrannical. Essentially, people started to quickly realize that the grass was not greener on the other side, and that they had essentially exchanged one tyrant for another. But as you rightly pointed out, her son was clicking towards full ability to claim his place. He's 17, turning 18.
I'm so sorry. Mouse Wonders on Instagram. I actually got secondary degree burns on my tits from tea. I could have not read that out. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Wow. You see, that would happen to me because I don't drink tea, so my tits are safe. You won't be laughing when you've all got that, will you? And I'm just sat here going, no. Thanks very much. Pray continue. I do apologise. I just couldn't let that one go. That was too good.
Don't let your tits go. Keep hold of your tits. Everyone, hold on to the tits. So she essentially she and Mortimer know that there is a plan afoot, and so they think that they can essentially get the drop on the Edward III. So they want to arrest him and his friends. They want to question them, but actually, Edward III and his mates get the drop on Isabella and Mortimer. They're both taken into custody. Mortimer is obviously accused of treason. He is executed. Isabella, though, is allowed to live a life as a dowager queen. She is given lots of lands and money. Her son sees seems to have natural affection for her, and ultimately the kind of years of her life and her retirement are in many ways more than could be expected from somebody who is in all likelihood a regicide. Just to kind of backdraft quickly on Edward II, there is discussion from his youth when he's Edward of Carnarvon that he is not like other princes. He partakes in what they view as being unusual activities, and I want to share them because I think they're kind of cool. I know I'm skipping right back to the beginning, but I want to. He likes going thatching, like roof thatching. So he likes to thatch, he likes to dig ditches, and he likes to row his own boat, which I don't think is a euphemism. All of which
I'm sure he likes to do that as well.
But I'm sure he did. All of which does sort of position him as being unusual and strange. And then he doesn't have either his father or his son's capacity to win wars and battles. And Isabella, I think she does as much as she can. In many ways, she can accept Gaveston. The thing is that the Mortimers, and you're right, I can't see how she would do anything else. When she turns up in France, the Mortimers have essentially said there's rising hostilities with France, so she can have, you need to remove her power, not the Mortimers, sorry, the Dispensers. You need to remove her power. You need to control how much time her children spend with her. Essentially, you need to treat her like an enemy agent rather than the anointed Queen of England. So she has I don't think she has much choice, but what she does afterwards, and whatever I don't believe that Edward II survives his imprisonment. I don't believe he dies of natural causes. I believe he is either smothered or he's most likely, I think, starved to death or dehydrated to death. And that absolutely 100% has to have been on the orders of both Isabella and Mortimer. Principally, I would say Isabella. I just want to talk about her burial. So she dies. So although she has sort of this fairly luxurious life in her retirement, she does have a period of ill health, and she dies on the 23rd of August, 1535. She is at her burial. She is shrouded in the mantle that she wore for her wedding, and then she's buried in this London Franciscan church in Newgate. Her son has these enormous services done for her. She has an alabaster tomb, and on the tomb, Edward II's heart is held in the effigy on her tomb. So the effigy of the heart is held in her effigy, if that makes some sense. So it's in her effigy's breast. And there's archangels at the corner. This priory is lost. It becomes a parish church in about 1550. So she is allowed to live nobly, and then she is nobly buried. And her posthumous reputation at first is of a wrong woman, and indeed for many centuries. And I think that we see her pop up in Braveheart, aged up because quite substantially for her to have an affair with William Wallace. But the first person to give her the star quality treatment is Christopher Marlowe. And Christopher Marlowe's play, Edward II, is published in, I want to say, the 1592, circa 1592. And we don't talk about Marlowe a lot. We don't see a lot of Marlowe. There was a production of Edward II that was staged at the National a few years ago, and we always seem to kind of apologise for us not doing a Shakespeare when we stage a Marlowe. But the speech that Marlowe gives to Isabella is, to my mind, one of the finest pieces of drama ever written, and I think it tells us quite a lot, because she is reassessed in the 19th century. And at that point, we kind of get this she-wolf moniker. And then that is then twisted again and turned around again. So coming out of the 20th into the 21st century, that she-wolf title is once again being questioned, reassessed, because she is incredibly transgressive. What she does is incredibly transgressive. And there's this brief window of time where the she-wolf name is attached and then it's lost. But that name doesn't pop in for a while. And so this is around 1592, so quite a while after the events. But this is the lines that Marlowe gives her. "O miserable and distressed queen, would when I left sweet France and was embarked, that charming Circe, walking on the waves, had changed my shape. Or at the marriage day, the cup of Hymen had been full of poison, or with those arms that twined about my neck, I had been stifled, and not lived to see the king my lord thus to abandon me. Like frantic Juno, will I fill the earth with ghastly murmur of my sighs and cries. For never doted Jove on Ganymede, so much as he on cursed Gaveston. But that will more exasperate his wrath. I must entreat him, I must speak him fair, and be a means to call home Gaveston. And yet he'll ever dote on Gaveston, and so I am forever miserable." And I just think that he is summing up in that the unenviable, inescapable frailty of the position. He is essentially step by step showing us, and as it progresses, he is showing us why she does what she does, and he is excusing it. So at the end of the Elizabethan age, towards the end of the Elizabethan age, we have Isabella of France's actions being, she is painted as a victim at the start of the play, and then as essentially there's a righteousness to what she does. And I think that kind of inescapable, I want this man gone. It's breaking my heart. But if I do, it will exasperate his wrath. I've got to entreat him. I've got to bring back Gaveston, despite the fact that he will then dote on him and I will be forever miserable. It's just the anguish of that. And I think also to see a female character, and obviously I know that these characters are to be played by boys, but I think the way in which these female characters are written, in Marlowe's play, she is so three-dimensional. It's such a beautiful text. And I think that it really, for a number of centuries, shaped how she was viewed, up until people start going, hang on a second, lets her husband, the father of her children, be sodomized to death with red hot poker. I think that almost certainly doesn't happen. I think that when we look at, in many ways, I think that the story we have about the execution of Edward II chimes for me with the story that we have about the Duke of Clarence in the reign of Edward IV. And what I think is happening is that the manner of death is being used to shame the memory of the person who's died. And so Clarence is drowned in a vat of Malmsey wine because he is dying as he lived, as a feckless, idle wastrel. Of course he drowns in wine. Edward II, sodomized to death with a red hot poker. There are going to be many in the audiences at the time that are hearing that think that is a justifiable situation because he is a sodomite. And I think particularly it's worth pointing out that in that aspect, the inference is that Edward II is, in quotes, the bottom. Now, why am I specifying that? Because looking back on kind of Greco-Roman homosexuality, a king should never be the bottom. That is doubly transgressive. If he's going to do it, you shouldn't. The king should never be subservient. He needs to be the top. So it's a double transgression. So those are my thoughts on her legacy, and I think it's one of those ones where we don't know a lot about her, but she has been so iconically portrayed in stage and screen that actually unpacking her gittishness from this veil of she's a hero, then she's a she-wolf, and now she's a feminist icon. Like, it's very hard to actually unpack where the Git begins and ends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she doesn't have to be either all bad or therefore the pendulum doesn't have to swing to all good. I think there's that tends to be I don't know, it seems to be a thing that seems to happen, especially with females in history, that people want to sort of completely, I don't know what the word would be, but kind of just make them out to be completely
Paragon.
Yeah, that they, you know, I mean, they're all beautiful. Let's talk about, they're all beautiful.
They're
They're
all- yeah.
all highly intelligent. They're all put in, I don't know, positions where they couldn't do anything else, and therefore they would have been amazingly kind and wonderful had it not have been for probably the actions of men. And there's just, I think that's too. They're not, but it's not going to be true. They're human beings who did human things. And Isabella is a perfect example because yes, she's put into a horrible situation. I imagine her life had been a lot of heartache up until the point where she manages to get control. She's never had control of her life. She's in control of her life, but what does she do with it? She takes it actually back to a point where she's doing the sorts of things that she's criticized others for and had got her support for going against, you know, that the tyrannical rule. She does the same thing. So, you know, this is why I love this. I love doing this series because it's everyone is all shades of black, white, and grey in the middle.
I think in that though, that kind of that conversation about she has this pronounced amount of heartache. That I think again is perhaps is part of us almost romanticizing her. She wouldn't have expected to marry for love.
No,
she doesn't have to love her husband. But in many ways, she does. She fulfills every end of the bargain, apart from bringing peace between France and England. But that's in part that is the fault of the men around her. But she does it all. She has all these. She bangs out all these kids. She's got the heir. She's done it. I think what she experiences is embarrassment. I think her husband is a king that causes. He embarrasses her at the wedding, so she starts with embarrassment, but also in his inability to control his nobles, in his inability to see the bigger picture. That I don't care how much you love Gaveston. I don't care how much you love him. I don't care how much you rely on Despenser. I don't give a shit. What you are doing with your inability to acknowledge what your nobles are telling you to do at fucking sword point is not only jeopardizing your life, but my life and the inheritance of our son. I don't need you to love me, but stop trying to get me killed. You utter shit. Does that necessarily mean that she should have him moidered? Perhaps not.
No,
perhaps not. But yeah, I think I question whether she's heartbroken or fucking ashamed. And I think shame would be a powerful motivator.
Ashamed, I would be infuriated.
I think it's strange to think of her as heartbroken in terms of she loves Edward. Why would she love Edward?
Why would
She's never had a relationship.
There's
like
nothing
that with him.
Also,
this isn't a wronged woman in that sense. It's a
she was kind of entitled to a certain level of respect, etc. As in her role, she was brought up to expect that. Everyone would have expected that for her, and then there's this bloke that just undermines her from the nanosecond she turns up.
Yeah,
no,
and also it's the fact that he's so impolitic. He's so impolitic. Like I get you having lovers, mistresses, Ganymedes, whatever. I get it. Fuck who you like, but you're a king. Don't be impolitic. Don't fuck it up. Because this place and this position is made up. It's made up.
Yeah.
Don't show them the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah. Do you know that it's a point though, because a lot of the resistance to Edward's relationship with Gaveston is looked at as a homophobia. You're missing the point if you think it's that. it's the amount of influence Gaveston has on Edward that is the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem. And because if you're sleeping in the king's bed, and we have this with mistresses who become a bit too influential on that's the problem.
Yes.
It's not pure homophobia, and you're missing the point if that's how you interpret it.
One of the reasons for having foreign brides or foreign grooms for monarchs is that you are not elevating a member of your nobility. That way, civil war
that was
lies.
Elizabeth's problem, wasn't it? That was going to be Elizabeth's problem.
Yeah,
Elizabeth
if she had raised Dudley to be her husband, she would have had civil war. If she'd married Philip like he asked her to, she would have had civil war. So I mean, she was in a bad position because she wasn't a co-religionist with the majority of European princes, and to marry a domestic candidate, to marry a subject, particularly as a queen, is really problematic. But also, let's not forget that even a king, Edward IV's marriage to Elizabeth Woodville destabilizes his reign. It is one of the principal causes why Henry VI gets put back on the throne. Domestic matches for monarchs are not a good idea, particularly in the medieval period.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what we're getting from the comments is that overall we're not going to get a very high Git score on Roundup Week for Isabella of France.
We shall see.
Well, we'll see.
You may
3 weeks to go.
You may want to do the you may want to do the culpability. May be low. I don't know, but
culpability may be low. But there was some. Let us not forget. This is a person who deposed a regnant, anointed monarch, the father of her child, ruled tyrannically, almost certainly had that king killed, so was a regicide, and then attempted to wrest power away from her son. It's not like she handed it over when he was good and ready. She kept him infantilized. So there are issues. Questions.
I'm gonna blame her. I'm just gonna say, well, she was a product of her environment.
Well, it's a good point. The regency that she takes on for her son. Now, actually, he's 14. Did you say, Catherine? When 14 was it? He's 13, 14. He's actually,
13 when she comes across with Mortimer and goes, right.
Later on, okay, so this hasn't already happened, but Richard II is deemed capable. Edward the Sixth is deemed capable. They're deemed capable when the people around them deem it useful for them to be king in their own right, and they're not to be a regency. The idea that he would have to be 18, we have 18 in our head because 18 for us is when we consider someone an adult. I don't think 18 would have been in their head. So she's holding on to power, her son's crown, effectively, for a long time, way past when she should have been. Why?
But equally, actually, 18 might have been young. If you think about when apprentices finish, you're looking at 22, 24. So they talk about the age of majority, but I'm not sure what they thought that actually was.
Seems like a movable feast, doesn't it? It seems like it's what the situation is, and basically what it suits. When it suits, then they're capable of their majority.
I can't. You're right. She did all these terrible things. She did. But I'm just looking at, I don't know, all the stuff that happened to her, and I would just be so fucked off. I don't think I'd care.
Look, I've got to say, if I've bagged out them kids, if I've weathered Gaveston, and then the Despensers rock up and try and after all of the shit that I've dealt with, the amount of times that I have gone and supplicated myself before this bell end I'm married to be like, please, can you forgive this shitbag? Please, can you send that shitbag away? I'm going to come and beg you so that you don't send us into fucking civil war, you utter twat. And then from that point, the Despensers rock up, and all of a sudden she is being painted as an enemy of the state.
Yeah, having
a bad influence on her fucking children.
Yeah.
She's lucky she didn't slit his
he
throat in the
seized her positions, got rid of all her
her
French
land,
servants, everything. Just and it wasn't even the king that did it, it was
isolated
the
her.
Chancellor. Yeah,
and he prevented her from getting access to her husband. Like,
so she's trying to keep in control. She's safe. She must have a feeling of safety that, understandably, she is not wanting to relinquish. Perhaps when she finally gets,
it's like
it.
Kiddies and me said, if I went through all that, I'd probably have become like her too. Literally walking through the palace corridors with "piss off" written across my forehead.
Yeah,
in French.
In French.
Oui.
Le peace, oof.
I'm sure that's a direct translation.
I think it's understandable. It's and if he had, it doesn't mean that she's not a git though. There's stuff that's understandable.
Yeah, we have to be careful. If she ordered the murder of an anointed king, we could say, oh, that's the Times. It's just the Times.
The Times.
But the Times also said that God had chosen him. And he'd gone through the coronation. There'd been an actual change. So the Times.
She murdered an anointed king, her husband. So that's a wife killing the husband is already treason. An anointed king is also treason. And let's also remember that this is the father of her son. And when the thing about a regicide and the thing about a deposition is it does inextricably weaken the crown. The crown that she is taking for her son, the crown that she wants her son to inherit, her actions weaken that. That is undeniable. If you go around deposing and killing monarchs, the next monarch has more to fight for, and the monarch after them, because you show people it can be done.
Interesting. Ladies,
even bigger treason than not liking tea. Apparently.
I won't go that far. Chill out.
I'm going to see what strange tea bags there are in the cupboard and see if I can bring something next week and give you a review of it.
That sounds like you're going to bring drugs.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to. No. You have to know how to make tea. People can make incredibly bad tea.
Apparently, I make a very good cup of tea for someone who doesn't drink tea.
Really?
We'll see. I'll see about that.
You can't.
Anyway,
just stick
Philippa, what's happening
in a cup and you can't.
You can't just stick it in, dunk it around a bit.
Can't just stick
pull
it
out and hope for the best.
No, you've got to get some wrist action in there.
You're going to be disappointed.
You've got to put your back into it.
Yeah.
And it's not a biggie cup, it's the motion in the ocean. What? Sorry.
See, I would always go for a pot, actually, if I had the choice. Making it in a cup is... You've got to be so precise. Whereas in a pot...
With a really big spout.
What's the plan for next week?
What's happening next week?
The plan for next week is we are discussing King John.
Yeah.
Who is not written down as King John on our spreadsheet, and everyone who came to the after party knows what is actually written on our spreadsheet, but it is King John next week. So
if you came to the after party, you got the heads up for the entire rest of the alphabet.
You have actually.
Yeah. John is going to be fucking wild, pals.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be
King John? We only had one because no one ever dared call their son John again after that.
Well, there's been
King
no
John
more Richards either.
Fame.
Andy said, "How long do we want to leave it in for?"
The tea bag in a mug. If you pour boiling water straight on it, hardly any time.
So how many Mississippis? How many Mississippis do you count? How many Mississippis?
Well, you see, as well though, it depends. If you then go and over squeeze the bag, you could end up with orange tea, and that's not good. We'll have to do a little lesson.
I'm amazed, and I'm going to regret this. Well, I'm not going to just say I haven't got around to
Christina's
teabagging.
asked, do we think Anne Boleyn's sister-in-law Jane Boleyn was a git? I think she was a member of the royal court, and thus had gittishness. I don't believe that she provided evidence against her husband or her sister-in-law. So in that respect, I don't believe she was that flavour of git. But I also think that pretty much everybody at the Tudor court, whatever faction you were part of, was
Yes.
an arsehole. And let's also, there's no one is a milkmaid in springtime at that court. Even Sainted Jane. Let me just position this moment. Another J, Sainted Jane Seymour, is a woman who served Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn. When it becomes clear that she's going to marry the king after the execution of her mistress, the first time in history an anointed queen has been executed, there is not one report from Chapuis or anybody else, any of the countless fucking spies that would have been at court and in her household, because best believe they know what the shade of blood on her linen is every month because someone's being paid to know it. Not one person mentions her being nervous, terrified, not a quiver, not a whisper. She is like a ship just sailing on calm seas. And I don't know how anybody wouldn't waver having had that happen. There must have been ice in that woman's veins to keep that cool. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And considering how her son turned out, that's double psychopath there. That's two psychopaths together. That is a double dose of psychopathy.
When being a
I did a blog yesterday on the myths of Jane Seymour, and one of them being she was this meek, mild, quiet. No, I can't see it.
If you're marrying a man, a king of England who has just killed his wife, who you knew, the fact that no one is like, Jane seems sad, scared, she's off her food. She's sleeping a lot. She's not sleeping. The queen to be is restless. Not a sausage. Not a whisper. None of it.
No, she was all right. Hauled up in her house, waiting for the message that she was expecting that Anne had her head chopped off. She was told to expect it. She was told to expect the guilty verdict. And then he sails over to see her after the deed is done.
It's a calm person that doesn't at least pause. I think. I think.
There's some confusion on YouTube as to who we talk about. King John next week. King John,
not John of Gaunt. Also a git. A different flavour of git.
Oh, I love John of Gaunt.
But he was a git. He was also a git.
Well, he was less of a git than anyway. We can't get into another one, but I've got an interview with Helen Carr, who wrote a book about John of Gaunt called The Red Prince, and we go into sort of some of the misnomers about John of Gaunt's because he wasn't very well liked in London by contemporaries. Well, no, yes. So anyway, actually get outside of London. So we also have to be, what are the sources we're looking at? If they're London centric, they didn't like John of Gaunt. It's being clear now because there appear to be more Johns who are gits than I was thinking at the time. Now, ladies, we need to wrap up because Kat's going to fall asleep in her own chest if we don't.
Okay, if you go and follow us on Instagram, you have a link tree. In the link tree is our Substack where we will post Philippa, let's be honest, Philippa posts all the links and everything to all the lives and everything else we've done. If you only follow us on YouTube, please consider going down and following us on Instagram. It's history.after.dark where you get little bits of extra content. You can also join our close friends so you get some stuff that randomly goes on, probably needs some sort of therapy. You can join close friends and also buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/had podcast.
If you open your eyes, look, it's scrolling.
Oh, so it is. The bottom. So there we go. But it's all in the link tree as well.
But she knew it.
Of our Instagram.
She knew it. I was impressed.
And if you only follow us on Instagram, please do consider following us on YouTube. It's History After Dark. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. So when all this mess goes out every week, you can be here to enjoy it, just in case it gets yeeted into the sun. Apparently, it was a bit close this week.
It was near the knuckle.
It was close.
It was at least wrist deep, heading towards elbow.
So there we go. All right. So King John. Yeah, King John. We did, if you'll pardon the expression, we all did King John a little while ago. It went quite well.
We're going to do him again.
It was so
do him
again. So there we go. I did that today. Hi, it's Hadrian. I don't know what you did today, but I hope you enjoyed it. All right, Kat, are you going to count us out?
I'm going to count you out. We are going to go out in
3,
2, 1.
Bye.